Windhelm is one of Skyrim's oldest and most imposing cities, a fortress of stone and snow, ruled by Jarl Ulfric Stormcloak and steeped in the tension of the Civil War. But beneath its political strife lies another kind of darkness, one that has nothing to do with armies or kings. Walk through the Grey Quarter, past the frost-bitten alleys and suspicious guards, and you may hear it, the whisper of the people. He's performing the Black Sacrament, they say. That Arantino boy, he's trying to summon the Dark Brotherhood. At the heart of this rumour sits a small, unassuming house. Its shutters are closed, its doors locked, its windows unlit. Inside, the air is thick with dread. A single child kneels before a bloody altar, chanting the words of murder. This is the Arantino residence, the most sinister place in all of Skyrim. Not because of what he has done there, but because of what it represents. Grief, fear, innocence corrupted, and the echo of one of Tamriel's darkest traditions. To understand more about the Arantino residence, one must first understand Windhelm. Windhelm is not merely a city, it is a statement. It is Skyrim's oldest capital, founded by Ysgramor himself. And every stone of it seems to remember its violence. Its people are proud, stubborn, and divided. The Nords dominate the upper quarter, whilst the Dark Elves are confined to the Grey Quarter, forced to endure cold, prejudice, and colder winters. Amid this political and racial tension, Windhelm breeds silence. Its streets are lined with suspicion, its alleys with whispers. The people gossip about war, murder, and the mysterious disappearances that seem to haunt the province. The Arantino residence stands in this city like a festering wound, an abandoned home turned shrine to death. In a city built on old blood, this small house feels like a beating heart of its cruelty. Inside the residence lives a boy, Aventus Arantino. Orphaned after the death of his mother, he was sent to the Honor Hall orphanage in Riften, where he suffered under the cruel care of Grelod the Kind, a name soaked in irony. Her abuse and neglect left deep scars on the children, but none more than Aventus. When he escaped, he returned to Windhelm, his home, determined to do what no child should ever consider, to summon the assassins of the Dark Brotherhood. The Black Sacrament requires a ritual, a human heart, nightshade, candles, and a skull. The supplicant must kneel before these tokens and whisper the name of their intended victim, begging the Night Mother to send her children to kill. And so Aventus, a child barely 10 years old, performed the ritual of murder in his family's home, alone. The act is horrifying not because of blood or gore, but because of what it says about Skyrim's world. A land so cruel that even a child believes death is the only form of justice. The Black Sacrament is one of the most sinister elements in the Elder Scrolls universe. It's simply not a contract. It's a prayer to death itself. The ritual is ancient, born from the cult of the Night Mother, the spectral matron of the Dark Brotherhood. To perform it is to invite evil into one's home willingly, to ask for murder as though it were mercy. In Aventus's case, it's both. His words, sweet mother, send your child into me," are chilling not because they came from a killer, but because they come from a child. The innocence of the voice collides with the horror of the act. The Arantino residence then is not merely sinister because of what happens there, it's sinister because of what it means. That Skyrim is a world where a grieving boy can speak to gods of death and the gods will answer. Stepping into the Arantino residence is one of Skyrim's most atmospheric experiences. The moment you cross the threshold, you feel it. The air grows heavy and the silence becomes oppressive. Dust coats the furniture, cobwebs hang from the corners. The place feels like time has stopped. And then you see the ritual, the skull, the candles, the blood. Aventus kneels before it, repeating the Black Sacrament over and over, his voice trembling yet determined. No music plays, no wind howls, just the voice of a child praying for a death. In that moment, the player is not facing a dragon or a dragger. They are facing something far worse, the collapse of innocence. That is what makes the Artino Residence the most sinister place in Skyrim. It feels real, and it feels human. Understanding why Aventus turned to the Black Sacrament, one must also understand his target, Grelod the Kind. At the Honor Hall Orphanage, Grelod runs her institution with cruelty, masked as discipline. The children cower before her. She belittles them, starves them, and crushes their spirits. Her abuse is not physical alone, it is emotional and psychological. And yet, in the eyes of Skyrim's law, she has done nothing wrong. No guards come to investigate, no Jarl intervenes. Aventus's plea, then, is not just for vengeance, it's for justice in a world where this has failed. The Artino Residence becomes a courtroom of one, where a child becomes both judge and supplicant, begging a dark god to right the wrongs that mortal law ignores. It's easy to condemn Aventus's actions, but in the world of Skyrim, his choice makes sense. That moral complexity is what makes his home feel so cursed. When the Dragonborn enters the Artino Residence, they become part of this story. Aventus mistakes the player for a member of the Dark Brotherhood, and without hesitation he offers gold and begs for Grelod's death. He is not afraid, he is desperate. The player can agree, leave, or refuse, but the damage is already done. The act of murder has been set in motion. Whether the Dragonborn chose to carry out the contract or not, the Artino Residence has already fulfilled its purpose. By entering that house, the player bears witness to the darkest kind of tragedy, a child's faith not in gods of light, but in gods of death. Windhelm's people gossip about the Artino boy, with fear and disgust, calling him cursed, yet none of them helped him. None took him in after his mother died. None spoke out when the orphanage mistreated him. Their fear of the supernatural outweighs their sense of compassion. In this way, Windhelm itself becomes part of the curse. The city allows the conditions that drive Aventus to his ritual. It turns away from suffering and then recoils at the monster it creates. The Artino Residence is thus a mirror held up to Windhelm's soul, a reflection of its apathy, prejudice, and decay. At its heart, the story of this residence is about innocence twisted into something unrecognizable. Aventus's ritual isn't performed out of malice, it's performed out of faith. He believes truly and completely that the gods of death can save him where the gods of life cannot. This preservation of faith is what makes this scene so powerful. In Skyrim, the 9 divines are often silent. The Daedric princes are active, manipulative, and cruel. Aventus, in his desperation, chose the only gods who seemed to answer prayers, the wrong ones. And in that moment, his house becomes a chapel, but a chapel to despair. Even after you complete the Dark Brotherhood questline, Windhelm's people still whisper about their boy. The house remains locked, its ritual circle intact, its aura unchanged. Time passes, but the darkness doesn't fade. The candles still burn, the skull still grins, and the silence still waits. In a land filled with dragons, wars, and Daedric horrors, it is remarkable that one of the most terrifying places in Skyrim is just a quiet house in the middle of a city. A house where a boy once prayed for death and was heard. The Artino Residence is sinister not because of what you see inside, but because of what it makes you realise. That sometimes in Skyrim, the greatest evil is not in its monsters, but in its silence.